Hello, my junk journal loving friends. It's Laura from Hyperstamper. I wanted to show you another journal that I just finished and uploaded to my Etsy shop. And this one is called Bohemian. It's actually a German book, so the reason I'm calling it Bohemian is actually because of this lovely bangle that I've put on the front here. It's made of fabric and beads that I adore and actually had a hard time parting with, but it now lives with this journal. The cover of this book from 1906 is spectacular. I hope you can see these lovely images of birds and flowers, the speckled circles, this gorgeous design up here. And up here, there's even a little tiny image of a dock with a fisherman and I believe a ship here. Some daisies, sunflowers, I think. And on the side is the beautiful golden embossed spine. The back, although it looks rough, is absolutely fantastic. I love the weathered look and a very small embossed signature back here. And when I say signature, I don't mean a handwritten one. Okay, so let's take a little flip through this beautiful journal. And just as I'm doing this, I'll remind you, I never ever use replica or photocopied paper or commercial papers, kits or anything. This is all 100% authentic antique vintage ephemera. These are the original first few pages. I had to take some care in adding them because they had come apart from the spine. So I did some repair work and covered that up with this little bit of lace here. I love that design. And some journaling pages that the book gifted me. And this is also one of the first pages in the book, so I left that in. This little tag is made from a piece of wallpaper border that's been hand painted back from the early 1920s. And in here, this fun little envelope has paper doll outfits in it, which are just wonderful. They're from the 50s. And when I was born in the 60s, and I remember playing with these. Another couple of wonderful pages, lots and lots of spots to put your thoughts in. This page is from The Magic Garden, one of the most spectacular books ever written for little girls. And here is a wonderful little pocket tuck that has a window with the word thankful I stamped on there on top of antique book pages. There's a wonderful little image from a children's book. Another antique page here that I tore just to cover up some of this 1940s dictionary page so you have extra writing space. And this wonderful receipt from the 50s from Pearl's shop in Cincinnati. Isn't that great? Another wonderful children's storybook about fairies, old fairy tales. And this here is a wonderful print from 1963 from an art book here, and the information about that is on my Etsy listing. Gate of Dreams, pulled from an antique book here. I did stamp gratitude on here. That's what I use my junk journals for. And this is from the early 1900s from a book called Emerald Isle. It's an Irish book. Isn't that a lovely page? Again, lots of places on here that you can journal on. I just love that. And it was hard to get glossy paper in the early 1900s, so that's a real treat. This came from a 1950s Lincoln souvenir book, I believe from Washington. When people visited Washington, this was something they could buy. So this is another little historical piece here for my American friends. Actually, I found it quite interesting. I read through the whole book. It was wonderful. And here's a pocket I made from an antique page, and I let that corner stay down because it was so colorful. And a 1926 ledger page, a blank one, which are not easy to find. So lots of special journaling spots there. Added some lace here, a vintage stamp. I did some stamping on my tea-dyed pages. They're the only things that aren't antique in here. And one other little thing I'll point out when I get to it. Another receipt from Pearl's shop, that's a different one. This is probably one of the most special things you'll find in this particular journal on top of this vintage map here. You can journal on that front and back. But in here, and I did this to protect it because it's incredibly special. It's very old. It's from I want to say 1906. It's a little tiny Spanish book. Look at the hand sewn spine on there that somebody took the care to make because it was probably falling apart. This is actually in a collection quite valuable. I acquired 6 of these and held on to them for years, and then decided, you know what, somebody else can love these now. I don't care if they're valuable. Let's let somebody else have them. And when I say valuable, I don't mean millions of dollars. I mean, maybe that's probably worth about $10 or $12. But still, I'm gonna leave that out. There we go. Now, let's keep going. Another ledger page. Oh, look it, we got Florida on the flip side of that vintage map. That's wonderful. I made a tag out of some vintage book pages, and this is a vintage recipe with some really wonderful ad on the back here. So fun when you get the old things. And this page here is from a 1950s Theater World magazine. Look at that wonderful picture. I just love it. This is a vintage hanky in perfect condition. It was never used. It was actually still in its wrapper from, I would guess, the 60s maybe. And back here is a really fun set of recipes from a salad book. That's right. And that is the back of a receipt book that I kept, and that you would have recorded all your receipts on. Another ledger page. Wonderful image from a children's book from the 40s. You know, a nurse or a doctor. This is a fun one. It's a first aid story. This is more of that Theater World magazine. This is from a really old book from the early 1900s. It's a bit brittle, so I reinforced it with some crochet, made a pocket out of it, some vintage crochet, and took this image from a children's book so you could journal on the back. This is from a craft magazine. And these are little top stitch pages. And this is a full page spread from a 1951 Needleworks magazine, and it is awesome. Wait till you open that up. It's huge, but it's fantastic. And this is one of my favorites because it is a cheesy recipe book, full color page. I didn't have many of them, but this one's lovely. Of a white, looks like angel food cake. I'm hungry now. The Light's Home. It's a beautiful poem here that I wanted to gift somebody. Another ad from that magazine, craft magazine. Another pearl shop. And this wonderful postcard is from 1908. Isn't that fantastic? I love it with the horse and buggy. Come on. So great. A vintage playing card. Sorry, here we go. Clubs, and this is a ledger page here with lots of really cool things starting at 1957 and going through to 1960s. It's a little book mini journal I made for you out of the children's storybook. This is another one of those theater magazine pages. I just made this out of, this is actually really cool. This is the spine. When I ripped out the pages, this was underneath holding the spine together. So I wanted that to stay in the book. How fun is that? And dictionary page. Old, vintage, actually antique music sheets. And look at this wonderful page that came out of a piano master's book from the early 1900s on this wonderful pianist here. There weren't many women, so this was a treat to get that one in a journal. This is another ledger page from 1926. Isn't that fantastic? And that opens up quite wide. And this came from a vintage bird book. And you know me, I try to get birds in every journal I make, but I'm starting to run very low. So this was a fun one to get. And then this wonderful little poem on a child's laughter. I'm really happy with that one. There's the flip side of that piano mastery book. And just another little that I made. Look at this one. This is from 1900. This is William Morris, and it's a whole book about William Morris, who, well, you can Google him. It's fascinating, but the original tissue is still there. So that's a 123-year-old photo still under tissue. Love it. And there we go. Then we're at the back of the book. So I hope you enjoyed this journey. If there's ever anything in my journals that you want a little more history on, please let me know, because I try to learn about every single bit that goes into my journals. And please visit my Etsy shop. The link is below. Have a super day.